requested a leave to appear telephonically. Mr. Mullen, do you have any objection?
No.
Okay. No problem. So, Mr. Kitover, you are here telephonically, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sorry. Now we're here today on a motion to strike. I have reviewed the documentation. I reviewed everything regarding the motion. If either side, I suppose, Mr. Mullen, your motion, and if you'd like to briefly summarize your points.
Yes, thank you. Section 10-8 of the Illinois Election Code allows a registered voter in a political subdivision to file an objector's petition. There are 4 things that are required to be in that petition. It needs to fully state the nature of the objection. It needs to state the interest of the objector. It needs to have a prayer for relief. And it needs to state the name and the address of the objector. Here, the only one that is truly done is the name and address of the objector. There is no prayer for relief. There is no statement of the interest of the objector. And the only grounds for objection are, quote, nonconformity, with no statement as to what about the nominating papers does not conform with what provision of the election code. And I would note that in Mr. Kitover's email today, he talks about a records exam summary in this case and how one was not created. But the reason one was not created is because he didn't provide objections to signatures based on not genuine, not registered, out of district, etc. There was no basis to do a records exam because there was no appendix with individual signature objections, and for those reasons, the objection should be dismissed.
Mr. Kitover, response?
Yes, Your Honor. I feel that my thank you for being here. My original objection, I feel, of non-compliance and an insufficient number of signatures is compliant with Illinois Election Code in my original objection. And to follow up, I've taken Mr. Noli's PDFs and I've converted them into Excel spreadsheets. And through a FOIA request, I requested that the Illinois SB send me the Illinois number 16 district voter roll. I cross-compared that voter roll, and I have doubts as to whether or not Mr. Noli has the correct number of signatures. So that's why I've requested the Illinois SB issue the full records exam summary.
Okay. Well, for the first part, you did not actually object to his signatures in your objection. Your objection was one sentence, and it states, I object to candidate Paul Nolly's petitions in Illinois crosshatch 16 U.S. Congress election on the grounds of nonconformity. That is the sum total of your objection. Not one word was spoken about signatures. Second, an objection once filed cannot be amended. Your efforts to grab the signature sheets and convert them to a spreadsheet and then compare them to voter rolls, even assuming some accuracy in what you did, would be an attempt to supplement or amend your objection, which is clearly not allowed. Let me get to also, before we go too much farther into this, you also then filed your own motion to strike. And in that one, you speak to nonconformity of the candidates nominating petition sheets, not using the 2026 version of the petition sheets. While the objector could have argued that in the original objections, that again, much like what you just stated about converting the signature sheets and comparing them to the voter follows. That's an attempt, as I see it, to amend your objection. Paragraph 2 of that objector motion to strike speaks about the insufficient number of signatures, and again speaks to this converting of the PDFs to Excel, 279 sheets, etc. All of that, Mr. Kitover, is in the nature of an effort to amend or supplement your objection, in my opinion. And so, to the extent you characterize it as a motion to strike, it will be denied. I am taking it as a motion attempting to amend or supplement your objection. Now, back to the objection itself and the motion to strike.
This is John. This is John Kitover. I'm running for
Today,
Illinois
at
16.
some point, you had requested, as counsel indicated, a record exam or a record exam summary, noting that the candidate had not been subjected to a record exam. The candidate is 100% right. You did not present an objection in this matter, which would have caused a record exam to be required. You would have to point to very specific sheet and line numbers and alleged flaws in very specific fashion as to each one of those issues you believe would invalidate each individual signature. It does not put the candidate on notice how to defend in this case to merely point at his, 279 petition sheets and say they're bad. It is a fundamental requirement that the objection put the candidate on notice of what they are called to defend. There was nothing that would go to a record exam. So to the extent you have filed what would be considered a motion requesting a record exam, it will be denied, and it is also untimely. I'm going to recommend granting the objectors, or the candidate, I keep saying objectors because I'm looking right at a page saying objector. I'm going to grant the candidate's motion to strike your objection. You do not fully state the nature of the objection, other than to say nonconformity. There's no way anybody could possibly defend a broad statement such as that. You also do not have any interest stated there, and your name and address, well, okay, you got that. Is there anything further you want to say in defense of your objection, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. Right at the Illinois SBE processing facility in Springfield, the number one objection is nonconformity. Now, I understand it's general and vague, but it was my understanding as a candidate myself and an objector that these proceedings and hearings allow candidates and objectors to present evidence on nonconformity.
Yeah, they certainly do. But you have to say what the nonconformity is, and you did not. You merely alleged in broad strokes.
Your Honor, we're dealing with petitions, and as a candidate myself, this all deals with signatures. I thought that's pretty generalized and understood that this entire hearing and all proceedings deal with validity of signatures. These are what we're, presenting to be on the ballot.
I take it your word that that is how you understood it. However, that is not the law. There has to be sufficient basis alleged in your objection, which cannot be amended, that would put the candidate on notice of what they are called to defend. It's simply absent.
I understand that, Your Honor, but in my defense, my petitions myself were fully issued an Illinois SBE records exam summary report. I don't understand why Mr. Noli can't also be issued an Illinois records exam summary report. It's just my concern that there's a lack of integrity or equality in terms of examination of petitions.
Well, I was not involved with any objection to your nominating petition, so I can't speak to what that objection looked like. But having done this for well over 2 decades, a record exam is ordered when the objection cites to specific sheet and line numbers and alleges very specific deficiencies, such as signer resides outside of district, signer does not reside at address on his name, signer's signature not genuine. There's several others, but that's the concept.
Your Honor, I've seen these objection sheets, and I could easily have filled out a blanket objection sheet for every petition sheet and submitted it. I mean, I'm just concerned that doing that is the exact same thing. I could very easily have submitted corresponding objections for every line item through a PDF blanket document. I just didn't do that. But I assume that my motion to object on, general noncompliance authorizes a full Illinois SB records examination. I was under the wrong impression, and I apologize, Judge.
I understand, and I'm not holding, I'm not castigating you. These are very specific requirements for objections. I can only say that your assumptions, as you stated them here today, were simply incorrect. It required far more than what you did. So I will be granting the candidate's motion to strike and recommend to the board that they dismiss your objection. Anything further on behalf of the candidate?
No, thank you.
Anything further, Mr. Kitover, on behalf of the objector?
Oh, Your Honor, I mean, I can just say that simply copying and pasting objections on every single variable on a petition sheet is very easy to do. I didn't do that, but I'll be making, my thoughts with regards to that at public comment with regards to Illinois SBE, and I thank you, Your Honor, and I thank you as well.
Thank you. All right, this will conclude events in 25 SOEBGP 527 with the recommendation that the candidate's motion to strike be granted and that the objection be struck and dismissed as insufficient in law and fact. Thank you. Thank you both. Mr. Kitover, I assume you'll be on the speaker for 526 when that one comes rolling up in a few minutes?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, I'll be calling you back. Thank you.